When that broadcast cut off mid-sentence, everyone thought it was a glitch. The screen flickered, the anchor froze, and then, bang. A royal correspondent appeared, pale as snow, whispering the words that made the entire world stop breathing. The palace has decided Meghan has no future within the monarchy. No negotiation, no soft language. Just final, cold truth dropped like a thunderbolt on live television. Phones started ringing everywhere from newsrooms to royal insiders' private lines. Reporters who'd covered everything from Diana's heartbreak to the Queen's passing looked around in disbelief. They'd seen scandals, yes, but this was the monarchy drawing blood in daylight. In homes across Britain, people leaned closer to their screens. Something inside them knew this wasn't just gossip, it was history rewriting itself in real time. What could push the palace to make a move this brutal, and why now, when King Charles was lying in a hospital bed, too weak to even attend his own briefings? That was the question on everyone's lips. Inside Buckingham Palace, power was shifting silently. With Charles out of commission, the once unshakable command center had gone eerily quiet. And whenever there's a vacuum at the top of the crown, you can bet forces start moving beneath it. Two of them, in particular. Princess Anne, unbending, razor-sharp, fiercely protective of protocol, and Prince William, exhausted, pressured, carrying the monarchy's entire image on his back. Anne saw Meghan's lingering influence as a cancer that needed cutting out. William saw it as an emotional weight dragging the monarchy down with every public appearance he made. Together, they knew that leaving any door open for Meghan meant chaos waiting to reignite. So, they acted. Quietly, strategically, without hesitation. In late autumn, as the king's condition worsened, William and Anne gathered evidence, public sentiment reports, and historical precedents. They weren't going to let the monarchy drift into confusion. Meghan's shadow was everywhere. Talk shows, podcasts, glossy magazines, her name pulling attention away from royal duties like a magnet. To William, it didn't matter what she said or did. Her mere presence skewed the monarchy's balance. Anne saw it differently. To her, it was about respect, structure, hierarchy, loyalty. Every time the public whispered, maybe Meghan will come back, it insulted every royal still serving under reign, duty, and silence. And with the king fragile, ambiguity was a risk they couldn't afford. One cold morning in a private hospital meeting room, William and Anne made the call. The monarchy would close that door completely and forever. But the roots of that decision stretched back weeks before the December announcement. Princess Anne was the first to feel the tremors. Reports crossed her desk, standard updates on press sentiment, charity visibility, and international perception. Only this time, patterns jumped out like flashing warnings. Meghan's popularity in Britain had collapsed, especially among the older generations. People weren't just disillusioned, they were tired. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, it was the opposite. American audiences still called her Duchess Meghan magazines, splashing her with royal titles, podcasts discussing her as if she were still part of the fold. Anne's instinct told her this wasn't harmless publicity. It was erosion of boundaries, of identity, of control. Then William's own reports arrived. International organizations were confused. Some asked if Meghan still represented royal patronages. Others wondered whether she could return for certain global summits. The implication was dangerous. To them, Meghan still was royal, and that, to William, was a ticking bomb. The final straw came when a respected European foundation privately suggested Meghan's involvement could help reconnect younger generations with the modern monarchy. Their intentions were good, but the message behind them was catastrophic. The world didn't know where the line between the firm and Meghan Markle began or ended. William brought the issue to his father's hospital bedside. Charles, frail but alert, listened in silence. His reply was faint but clear. "We cannot afford the world misunderstanding who speaks for the crown. Not now." And then Anne, her tone like steel-cutting glass, uttered the sentence that sealed Meghan's fate. "We must stop giving the world the illusion of a door that does not exist." From that moment, there was no turning back. Back in California, Harry could already sense the tension building across the ocean. Friends said he'd grown quiet, withdrawn. He knew his father's condition was serious. He knew William and Anne were stepping up. He also knew deep down that Meghan's growing American profile was creating ripples the monarchy couldn't control. By late November, it was done. William and Anne's recommendation was locked, approved, and ready for the communications office to draft. Inside Buckingham Palace, the energy shifted. Staff whispered in corridors. Advisors walked faster, voices lower. Everyone knew something monumental was coming, a decision that could split public opinion right down the middle. Then came the spark. Back-to-back British headlines speculating about Meghan's possible return to royal duties. American outlets picked it up instantly. Talk shows, podcasts, Twitter threads, everyone was buzzing with one question. Will Meghan rejoin the royals if King Charles's health declines? William read those headlines with cold frustration. "We've made no promises," he said in a low voice. "Yet the world keeps inventing them." Anne walked in moments later, holding another pile of letters from international partners asking if Meghan might appear at upcoming Commonwealth events. To Anne, it was proof that silence had become more dangerous than speaking. "You see why waiting is no longer an option," she said. William nodded grimly. Meanwhile, Queen Camilla, though publicly distant, was privately firm. She had survived decades of hostility from the press and knew how dangerous mixed messaging could be. "The crown cannot survive in a world where its boundaries are optional," she told Charles quietly, and he agreed. The draft of the official statement took shape. Its key line was blunt, merciless, and historically final. "There are no plans for future royal roles, patronages, or formal associations involving the Duchess of Sussex." William read it slowly, his jaw tightening. "This will shock the world," he said. "But not speaking has become the greater risk." Anne simply replied, "Speculation has caused more damage than truth ever could." And so, on December 3rd, Buckingham Palace pressed publish. But Meghan already knew. It was still early morning in California when her team intercepted the internal alert. They brought her the tablet cautiously, as though it were a live grenade. Meghan read the first line and froze. Then she saw it, the cold official sentence removing her from royal consideration forever. Her voice trembled as she whispered, "They're shutting the door on me." For years, she'd lived under tension but believed time might heal things, that a family wedding, a charity collaboration, or simple nostalgia might eventually build a bridge back. But this was no bridge. This was ashes. Anger followed fast. "They're doing this because they know Charles is sick. They think they can get away with it," she said sharply. Her team said nothing. They knew the truth. The decision had been building for months, but in Meghan's eyes, it was deeply personal. Harry arrived moments later, still in pajamas. Meghan handed him the tablet. He read the statement slowly, his face sinking into quiet resignation. "You knew this was coming," she snapped. "I knew they were talking," he said softly. "But not like this. Not so final." He tried to comfort her, murmuring, "This isn't about you. It's about stabilizing everything while my father's in the hospital." But she shook her head furiously. "It's always about me. Every decision they make is about controlling the story. And now they're erasing mine." Back in London, William and Anne sat together in a secure room as the press team prepared to release the statement to the world. They both knew the blowback would be enormous. British tabloids would cheer, American media would erupt, Meghan's supporters would rage, but the monarchy would finally draw its line. And then, at noon in London, the palace went live. Within minutes, the internet imploded. TV networks interrupted programs mid-broadcast. Radio stations opened emergency hotlines. Commentators shouted over one another. But amid the chaos, one truth was undeniable. The monarchy had spoken, and its words left no room for hope. In the UK, reactions were split like lightning. Older generations said, "At last, the crown has spoken." They'd grown tired of the endless drama. To them, this was closure, a clean break that allowed the monarchy to breathe again. Younger Britons were more conflicted. Some said the palace was being cruel. Others believed it was just realism, that Meghan had long walked away and this was only confirmation. Across the Atlantic, though, the shockwave was deafening. American morning shows treated it as a cultural earthquake. Supporters framed Meghan as a woman punished for independence. Critics claimed she'd exploited her title too long. Talk shows replayed her past interviews, her tears, her statements, and every side found proof for their belief. Meanwhile, inside Buckingham Palace, the atmosphere was strangely subdued. Staff members whispered that the day felt heavy but necessary. William and Anne briefed departments on the new rule. No speculation, no ambiguity, no reference to possible futures. One senior aide sighed, "We've been living under uncertainty for years. Today, we have direction." Camilla stayed quiet but was said to feel both sorrow and relief. She understood the sting of public vilification, and she also knew that peace sometimes comes only after boundaries are drawn. But for Harry, it was agony. Friends later said he wandered his Montecito garden for nearly an hour, phone in hand, debating whether to call his father. He knew Charles hadn't acted alone. He knew William and Anne had steered the decision. Yet, even in his heartbreak, he couldn't deny the logic. The monarchy could not function under two truths. As the sun set over London's grey skyline, December 3rd settled into history, a cold, decisive, full stop at the end of a decade-long storm. And still, as cameras packed up and analysts signed off, one feeling lingered. This wasn't just about Meghan Markle. It was about the eternal struggle between identity and institution, between heritage and independence, between being born into duty and choosing your own voice. For years, Meghan's journey had symbolized that clash, modern individuality crashing headfirst into ancient tradition. The monarchy protected its form, Meghan protected her freedom, and neither side could coexist without the other fracturing. To older Britons, the monarchy is the spine of national identity, stoic, ceremonial, unyielding. To Americans, Meghan is a woman breaking free from an archaic cage. Two cultures, two ideals, one impossible intersection. And when two worlds value two different truths, something always shatters. The palace didn't act out of hate. It acted because ambiguity had become more dangerous than cruelty. Years of mixed messages, documentaries, interviews, and speculation had built a fog so thick no one could see where loyalty ended and performance began. One British commentator said on live TV, "A crown cannot serve two interpretations." An American analyst fired back, "A woman cannot carry two identities that contradict each other." Both were right. Both were missing the deeper truth. Trying to live in two worlds eventually tears you apart. In the end, this wasn't punishment, it was clarity. Painful, brutal clarity. And clarity always comes at a cost. William and Anne had done what they believed was duty. The monarchy, weakened by illness at the top, needed strength. And sometimes, duty requires ice-cold decisions that break hearts to save the crown. As for Harry, he remained suspended between worlds, his heart in California, his bloodline in Windsor. His silence is both his protection and his prison. And Meghan, her chapter with the palace is closed, the ink sealed, the door locked. But maybe, just maybe, that's where her true story begins. Sometimes, the end of recognition is the start of reinvention. The question isn't whether she has a place in the monarchy anymore, it's whether she can finally build a life that doesn't need it. Because in the end, that's the lesson this entire saga whispers beneath the headlines. Identity isn't granted, it's earned, fought for, and ultimately redefined by the choices we make when the applause fades. And on December 3rd, both Meghan and the monarchy made theirs.